Hello, welcome to Chopcast. I'm Griffin. This is Sam below me. Um, there's not much to talk about from this series, I feel like, other than just pain. And I want to take a nap soon, so we're gonna keep this one fairly short. And this series fucking sucked as a whole, so we're just gonna
Yeah.
just go over what we think, and I don't know. This
Yeah.
this series was kind of just like a pendulum or a bell curve in terms of happiness. Uh, just straight at the bottom, the beginning, from basically the get go to the most magical Braves game that I've seen since Game 6 of the World Series in Game 2, and then bringing us right back down to earth in Game 3 and the only closely contested game of the series.
hmm
Um, yeah, I watched the first game all the way, or half the way through. The second game I watched all the way through, and the third game I was in class and doing work, but I just kept looking down and being incredibly disappointed in seeing
hmm
nothing happening. Um,
Yeah. I I got to see the first two games. I think I watched obviously watched the second game all the way through because these are some of the most fun games in baseball. First one I watched, but I was pretty removed. And then the last one I actually slept through almost entirely. I watched the bottom half of the ninth inning. Also, I'm on West Coast time, so don't think I'm like nutcase sleeping until 3. Although I do that sometimes.
mhm.
I'm kind of a piece of shit. So uh,
I
I,
slept until 4 the other day on accident. It
yeah,
was tough.
no, this like college senioritis is crazy. You think it stops in high school, but it honestly just is way worse now.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Especially
like
if
I
you
just
like once you're doing job applications and like interviews, and
mm,
especially for people that I know who already have jobs lined up, it's just like, why am I here? You know?
yes, yeah, like
Um,
I'm purely. I like have stopped like turning in assignments, which isn't normal. Like I'm usually pretty, like I'm usually pretty on top of my stuff, but I'm like literally calculating like the equilibrium in my head of like how like when does like skipping a class become too much? Like how many classes can I skip in a row before it gets bad?
yeah.
But that's,
I
that's just life right now. That's how
mhm.
things are going for me.
I already perfected that my second semester of freshman year, how to skip classes and win, and it's almost always worked out for the most part. Um, but yeah, my our AC uh, has been out for the last 3 weeks, and it's not super cold in Athens, Georgia. Um, it was actually pretty nice for like a week and a half, and then all of a sudden it started to pick up on the heat again, and our house has been like 78 degrees, so it's
Mm.
made it almost impossible to go to bed. Um, and at least for me, everybody else in my house is skinny as shit and doesn't have like any body fat on them at all, so they're probably still shivering when they go to bed. Um, so I have to basically like get high when I go to bed because because I take these Delta 8 gummies, and so normally you're only supposed to take like a half, but if I take a half, then it just makes me a little sleepy, which is the intended effect of it. It
Mm.
like makes you ease up and go to bed and whatever, but because it's been so hot, like I can't do it. I have to like physically knock myself out, and it's still difficult past that. But like each night, and you're supposed to take it like 2 hours before you go to bed. So I'll take it, and then uh, I'll take it at like 10 or something, and I'll usually be doing some type of work, and sometimes the work will go over, or like I'll finish my work and then just play on the PS4 for a little bit, and then by the time it's 12, like I just start like my eyes are glazing over.
You
and
start like
like
seeing hallucinations and stuff.
but like my mind is like impossible to control, and I just keep thinking of all these different things, and then I'll like stop myself. I'm explaining the process of getting high right now, uh, like I'll be sitting here, and then my mouth starts getting drier, like getting cotton mouth and whatever, and then I'm like thinking about something, and I'm like, wait, how in the hell did I just start thinking about this, and what does this
Yeah,
mean? And then I'm like,
yeah,
wait,
yeah.
what was I just thinking about? And then I can't remember what I was thinking about like 3 seconds ago.
No, that's how you know you're like starting to drift off is like I saw that online one time. I'm like, because I always wonder about like going to sleep, like how it works. And it's like when you start thinking thoughts that just like don't make sense, but then you snap into it, you're like, what the fuck? Like, what does that even mean? And
hmm
I feel like I need to take whatever you're taking because that sounds great. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time I did it, like I didn't believe that it was really gonna do that much to me.
Hmm.
And I was only supposed to take half a gummy, but I was like, I struggle going to sleep, so I'm gonna take a whole one.
Yeah.
And then like, uh, I did it at my parents' house, and then like I went up to bed, and I was like, I don't feel anything, and it'd been like 30
Mm.
minutes or less than an hour, and I was like, this sucks, and then I just stayed up longer and like was watching videos or whatever, and then finally started trying to go to bed, and then it hit me, and like when I went to bed, I was just sitting and like lying down in my bed, and I just kept thinking all these things, and I started like feeling it, and then I was sitting there, and then I realized that I was high, and I like started laughing about it, uh, like involuntarily. And then I started seeing all these different shapes and whatever, and different like just
Yeah, like the fractals.
like yeah that, and then I saw like different images like from my childhood like mixed together and whatever. I can't even really explain. And then
Mm.
I like started seeing and then I was like, oh, this is weird, and then I in my head I was like, no wait, there's a purpose for why this is happening, Griffin. And then I started thinking that I was like piecing together some traumatic experience from childhood that I didn't know about or something, like like I was investigating myself, and then I was like, wait, I think I'm just really high, and then I was like, oh no.
This is bad.
This is
Yeah.
bad. And then I started panicking, and I'm like, I was like,
Exactly.
I'm not gonna stop being like this until I fall asleep. And then so my heart was beating at like 140.
And you can't fall asleep. Yeah, it's a night. Literally like an actual nightmare.
hmm
That's the worst feeling. Yeah,
So
the pan. Yeah. Anyways, Braves
yeah,
baseball.
that's
I honestly think like this conversation is more interesting
then the
than the
series.
entire series itself. So
Yeah, I think we're done now.
yeah,
Um,
goodbye everyone.
um, but yeah, this Red Series before, I mean, you take it or leave it. I just was like, oh yeah, just the beginning of baseball. We're just trying to figure things out. It's not that big.
Mm,
This series, I mean, it's still about the same kind of thought process, but a little more worrisome. I like, you know, competitive games,
mm,
regardless of if we lose or not. I feel like that's, at least telling that we can do stuff. Like I would have honestly rather seen us after the 11-2 win like 6-4 the next day instead of
mm.
16-4
Yeah.
and then coming out and losing the next game. Like I understand that's just how baseball works sometimes, but it's just very indicative of um, a lack of consistency, obviously,
Yeah.
and uh, not everybody in our lineup is producing. Some of these numbers are skewed from the 16-4 game as well, considering that the only RBIs that Dansby got were off of D. Strange Gordon,
Yeah.
And one of his two hits was also from him. Um, and uh, I didn't even realize. I don't know how I didn't realize this that in the second game that Rosario wasn't even playing,
Mm.
and he has been just terrible. I chalk it up somewhat to some bad luck, because I mean he has 20 ABs, only one hit, has come in for 2 runs, has 3 walks, but he only has 4 strikeouts, which is among the lowest on the team. Um, just quick caveat here, right here, or interjection. Who do you think has the fewest strikeouts on the team? If you had to guess.
Fewest strikeouts on the team. I mean, with like minimum plate appearances, because
Minimum
then I'd
plate
go with like
appearances, or like at bats of 17.
17. Because I was gonna say like Heredia, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
just statistically. Darno.
He's pretty low. He's got 4, but
Mm.
it's Ozuna.
Really?
Yeah, he's got 2 strikeouts and 28 ABs.
Wow.
He's got the most ABs on the team.
Wow. I'm like genuinely shocked by that.
Yeah, he's got the
Obviously, like welcome, very welcome, but just the way he swings the bat just feels like he's
it's
like
popping out.
flaring. Yeah, at least he's making contact. I mean, we saw him hit 2 just fucking mammoth home runs, and I think it was game 2, which is awesome.
Hmm.
I think he's back. I think Marcell Ozuna is gonna be really good.
Yeah, he's on the way at
Yeah,
least. I mean,
yeah.
and thinking of like the way he does swing, I don't think he struck out much, even when he wasn't doing too well anyway, just because the way he like swings the bat just kind of
Mhm.
covers the zone. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean he's tied with Matt Olson for the most hits on the team. Has 3 doubles, 2 homers, uh, 5 RBIs. But yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
so I said before, this series was kind of like a bell curve in terms of happiness for Braves fans.
Hmm.
Um, little pissed off that the Georgia national championship celebration game was uh, at like 12,
Yeah.
but then also that we lost 3 to
Yeah.
1.
Watching Jordan Davis in the booth and throw out the first pitch was pretty cool, though.
Yeah,
Like that guy is huge. He's a
he's big.
mammoth. Yeah. He big. Yeah, he's big.
um, but yeah, I mean this series was pretty trash, as we've already illustrated. And I felt like the second game was just one big old tease.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That was
um,
great, but jeez.
so thinking of the series as a whole, though, for our MVP and LVP, we have 2 pitchers. For our MVP, we have Bryce Elder, and our LVP, we have Huascar Ynoa.
Hmm.
Um, so the first game, just leading up to Bryce Elder, we'll talk about him a little bit first. But I was, I feel like a lot of fans were kind of confused with how Snit ran the bullpen that game. Where you have go 3, and then Spencer comes in and goes 3.1, and he's basically I would not have expected him to be the bright spot in our shittiest of games
Hmm.
so far,
Yeah.
but he's been electric. He only gave up 1 run, 3 hits. He did give up 3 walks, but got 3 Ks. And then the decision after that was kind of perplexing because you take who would have been your 6th, or that was going to be the 5th starter, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
You think Tucker or
hold on. Sorry, I thought I was having an earthquake for a second, but
Oh yeah.
there's like a helicopter that's right outside my house right now.
I hate when they're actually tracking you down. You
Fuck.
should be
I
nervous.
need, I
On
need to
the
run.
earthquake note though, quick aside, I'm on the 3rd floor of my house and We are like we're in like the fault line. I've experienced like 3 or 4 earthquakes here. It's like really scary actually. Like the
Mm-hmm.
whole house shakes back and forth.
Yeah.
And for a split second, I think I might die. And then I'm like, okay, never mind. Anyways,
Just living in California stuff.
yep. I'm getting out though. I'm coming back to the Beast Coast afterwards.
Mm.
Anyways,
But yeah, bringing in Tucker was a little
mhm.
strange. Which Tucker looked like doo doo.
Yeah,
Um,
he looked awful.
and he just finished up the game. So and then we'll get back to that in a minute. But going into that sets up Bryce Elder, which was a shock.
Mm.
Did not expect to see that at all. I think on my Instagram post I said that he was a fifth rounder in the 2020 draft, but uh, oh yeah, he was. Shoot, someone said he was the number five, like overall fifth pick, but he was drafted in the fifth round, overall pick 156.
Mm.
So that's wild.
Yeah, that's like one of those just only in baseball types of things.
Yeah, but the fact that he was that deep in the draft, he was drafted in 2020. He's 22. He is almost exactly a year older than I am.
Mm.
Um, and come out and did what he did. It's pretty impressive. I don't like. Let me see what his pitches were, because I know he had a changeup, but um, he didn't like visually look as impressive as somebody like Spencer Strider,
I'd
but
agree. Yeah.
he basically did exactly what I said I want out of young pitchers in the last episode, as
Mm.
opposed to something that like what Ian Anderson did in his 2022 first start, which is I would much rather take somebody going a young pitcher going 6 innings, or he ended up going 5.2 or 5.1, gave up 3 runs, which
Two of which were kind of yeah at the tail end.
yeah, and he was just kind of out of gas at that point.
Yeah.
But even before that, like I was 100% fine with his start and really enjoyed it. I much prefer that like a pitcher going like that, giving up 3 to 4 runs, than pitcher coming in like doing what Tukey would used to do and what Ian did, except for he gave up
Mm.
more runs, where you go like 3 maybe 4 innings and you
Mm.
just pitch yourself out of the game and you're at a really high pitch count, but you only give up like 1 or 2 runs.
Yeah.
That is good for the short run and kind of good for yourself, but not really good for the long run in terms of the team. Um, I'm trying to look at Bryce's pitch mix here, but yeah. So his main pitch is the changeup, um, but he's got a really healthy mix of pitches. I didn't even realize that he was spreading it around this much.
Mm.
He's got. This is just based off this one game, but he threw the changeup 29.4% of the time, the cutter 27.1, the sinker 22.4, and the slider 21.2.
That's a really even mix
Yeah,
too.
that's basically
Yeah.
uh, like one pitch is going to be a quarter of all your pitches. 25% for each pitch.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Um,
Uh, I wonder. I wonder if he's gonna stick with all four or like work on 3 or 2.
I mean, if he's going to be a starter, then he needs to stick with at least 3 for now.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
one starts really blowing up on him, then
Mm.
change it up. But I know I we'll see what happens with him next time. I think he, after that one game, has definitely earned himself a spot in terms of the rest of our younger guys kind of being pretty shaky.
Yeah.
But I just we'll see how far he can go with this.
Mm.
It seems like every young pitcher that we come in and does really well blows up at some
Kyle
point.
Muller, Tuki Toussaint. Yeah, they're that seems to be the general trend is we'll get 1 to 2 games out of them and then kind of falls apart. But I don't know. He did look like I think I kind of like what you said about how he didn't really pass like the eye test necessarily like Spencer Strider does, but I don't know, like I was believing in him. And yeah, it's the Nats or whatever, but you're still, facing pretty good batters. You got like Juan Soto and like Josh Bell and they're like it's no like tall, no small task. Um, but yeah, I liked what I saw. Also, like I think that his stat line was kind of deceiving in that like he pitched 5.2 and let up 3 runs, but 2 of those were like back-to-back home runs to Josh Bell and Juan Soto. So like that. Um, yeah, that's kind of my quick thoughts on Elder. Also crazy that he's 22. It's like our age, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I was pretty impressed with what I was expecting. Just kind of came out of nowhere, and the fact that he was chosen over somebody like Kyle Muller or Tukey
mm,
was pretty surprising as well. I'm glad
very much,
I
yeah.
would have been fine with Kyle. I mean, he did pretty poorly at spring training, but I really don't want Tukey in our starting lineup again. Um,
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think that he's a great guy, but that
mhm,
experiment is just kind of done.
yeah. Uh,
We'll say though, I don't care if Tuki Toussaint has a 20 ERA, he's still one of my favorite Braves.
think he needs to practice on shifting to a reliever and focusing
Agreed.
on 2 pitches.
Agreed.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Bryce was a very pleasant surprise. Yeah, I not much else to say about it. It's hard to like gauge really what he's going to be able to offer this for even like this month.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, for our LVP this series, Huascar
Mm.
seemingly falling off a cliff and kind of, it's not even with somebody like Ian Anderson being overly concerned about him is pretty like that's too anxious, like too worrisome. Like
Mm.
it's too early, and obviously we've seen what he's done, and he's done it for a longer time than Waskar. Uh, with Waskar, he the first like we already talked about in last season, but his first 3 games back after coming back from the punching the bench, um, I thought he did pretty well.
Mm.
Um, each of those games got just a tiny bit worse, but I thought that he was having some pretty good outings. Uh,
Mm.
but took 3 losses just because we couldn't really do anything with the bats those games. Um, but then after that, he didn't have any good starts. Got pulled from the rotation, and by that time it was we were headed to the postseason, and he was barely even in the bullpen, and honestly just shouldn't have been, but we had
Mm.
nobody else.
Yeah.
So, and it was the same thing then. He only really came in twice during the postseason, and I think he gave up at least 1 home run each of those times. Um, and almost lost us game 4 of the
Mm.
NLDS. Um, and so the concerns were still there, and most people who watch the games have said and thought the same concern, which is like he's whenever he's in a jam and things aren't going really well, he just throws sliders. Like he
Mm.
only throws sliders. His slider is gross, and when he can locate it, it doesn't even matter if they know that it's coming. But when he can't locate it, it's just gone.
Mm.
Um, and this is from just the game that he played this season, or it started the first game of this series. 47.2% on the four seamer, which was located almost entirely right down the middle. Um, and and his slider was 31.9% of the time. Most of it was missing down and to the right. Um, and he had two-ish spots. One was down in middle, which is a good spot to put it, and the other hot spot was right down the middle. His changeup, he only threw 12.5% of the time, and only was in the zone 3 times out of 9 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Sinker also only threw it 8.3% of the time, and only half of those were strikes. Um, so you can't, unless you just have like the grossest 2 pitches or whatever. I just don't think you can be a starting pitcher with only 2 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that kind of, when you only have two, that just kind of instantly relegates you to the bullpen. Um, and that was what I talked about coming into the off season, was that he really needed to develop one of those other pitches at least to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if he was really relying on. Or here, let me look at 2021. 2021. It was 48.2% of his pitches were sliders, 40.5% were four seamers, and then 7% and 4.3% for his other 2 pitches. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think he was just locating his stuff really well, and he was a new pitcher, so people weren't as experienced with him. So he just never felt like he needed to change anything up. I don't know where the failure is. It's got to be a little bit of both at least, but I don't know if it mainly resides in him and what he's doing, or like our pitching development. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe like some of you are of the opinion that you really only need 2 pitches, but I don't know. I don't care really how good your 2 pitches are if you're trying to go like 3-4 innings, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he was kind of doing the same thing that Ian Anderson was doing. Like, even when he was, you're trying to get somebody to chase on a ball. His chase rate was pretty low. Yeah, it's at 18%. Like, it's in the 18th percentile in the MLB this year. Um, Not very great stats.
Yeah, no.
Uh,
Not good.
so I kind of feel like he needs to just, again, like I said with Ian Anderson, and then even like with the concern with maybe even Tucker Davidson or something. I don't know. Of all the young guys that we have, I would probably want to pull him first and send him to Gwinnett to try to
I agree.
develop some stuff.
I agree. I think like at this point, this stage is a little too big. And not just like for him. I'm just saying like literally like you can't afford to start a pitcher that like is not really looking great, especially as when you're the Braves and you know coming off a World Series championship. Like Waskar just needs more time. And at this point, like I don't know. Tucker had a shitty outing, but I feel like he's got better stuff and more potential. We saw Kyle Wright just absolutely shove against the Reds, so that was great. Bryce Elder, that could be something which is really exciting. But I am very concerned about Waskar. I think ever since he punched the bench, he's just not looked very good, which sucks because he started off like so good in 2021, and I hope it wasn't a flash in the pan, but
It's definitely what it's looking
yeah,
like right now. It's
yeah, yeah, I agree.
kind of seemed like I went back and looked at some 2021 MLB highlights, like overall, and they had his game where he hit the grand slam against the Nationals at Nationals
Mm-hmm.
Park, and also hadn't given up a run in like 6 innings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking at it and thinking about how he had performed this game, and I was like, is this the type of person that I'm gonna like see this video in 10 years or something from like greatest Braves moments or something, and just be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, that guy was almost really good. I forgot that he existed. Or is he gonna be like a face of the franchise? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like either is quite possible, um, but the former is looking most likely right now.
Mm-hmm.
But so if you had to pick a 5-man rotation right now, who do you think you would do?
Let me get a pen and paper real quick so I can map this out. I'd probably go Freed first, obviously. Morton, Ian Anderson, um, then Kyle Wright, just what we've seen so far. And afterwards, I'm not gonna say Bryce Elder because like one outing isn't really enough at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I probably for the fifth man, I'm not putting I'm putting Tucker Davidson, with a strong trapdoor in favor of Kyle Muller because I really like Kyle Muller, and I know he needs a little bit of time, but I could see him making some waves. So yeah, I'd probably have Freed, Morton Anderson, Kyle Wright, Tucker Davidson.
Um, what's your depth chart past that with the other younger guys for you
That's
personally?
that. That's a good question. I'd probably go right after Tucker, just Waskar, because I think that he's probably. I mean, he's a big league developed pitcher. Like he has it if he can find it. So I'd probably put him afterwards. Then I'd go with probably hmm, probably Muller after him, and then Elder after him. And are there any big names I'm forgetting? Honestly, if I could stick Spencer Strider in there, I would. But right now, it seems like he's kind of a reliever role and kind of working his way up.
Yeah, I personally I do the exact same top four. So
Mm,
Freed, Morton, Anderson, Wright, and then from there I would go Strider, Davidson, um, Muller, Elder, and
wow.
I
Okay.
have very little faith in right now.
Yeah, that's understandable. He's just looked awful since the bench incident. But I kind of agree. If Spencer Strider is who we think he is, and if he can actually do 5 or 6 innings at his MPH, I think he probably sneaks into the top five. Uh, I just am a little worried because he's young, and it almost seems like with what he does and what how he pitches, like Tommy John is just almost inevitable, and I'd be a little nervous about it, but
the
I don't know.
question from here is kind of like how are the
Mm-hmm.
changes going to happen? Um,
Mm-hmm.
because we're definitely sticking with, at least for now, we're like Anderson is still like a definite, unless like he has 2 more, 3 more really
Mm-hmm.
bad outings,
Agreed.
which I don't
Yeah,
think that he will.
I don't think so either.
But Freed in the third game cleaned it up a lot more than he did the first one. Which again, the
Yeah,
first one he was locating his pitches, was just getting a lot of soft contact, blue pits.
yeah,
Um,
bullshit.
and this game, he gave up two, but that was all he gave up, and looked pretty strong after that. Um, and I mean, he struggles with like kind of starting off a season as well. And
Mm-hmm.
we do have to keep in mind that pitchers spring training is mainly about the pitchers, and no pitcher in the league was able to get to 100 pitches this, or 100 Yeah, no pitcher in the league was able to get to 100 pitches for live play uh, this spring.
Mm.
So hopefully it's just kind of getting readjusted still.
Mm.
But I think Wright has more like under his belt, and also at this point for him too, it's like if you're not staying, then you're almost certainly gone. Um,
Yeah,
where
it
like
seems almost like a prove it year kind of.
yeah. Um,
Mm.
whereas the other guys still have space and a lot of age to work with.
Yeah.
Um, and then Tucker, maybe I'm basing this too much off of how he did, just kind of ending the game. Um, it was kind of a weird role for him to come in, and he hasn't really done anything like that before.
Yeah.
So maybe that had something to do with it.
It's a good
But
point.
um, just the fact that, I mean, we could have saved him for the next day. It is very indicative that he is not really where they want him to be if they're putting him in that late just to clean up a game that we basically had already kind of lost.
Mm.
Um, which, I mean, we were only down by 5 runs at that point when he came in, so it's still a little strange.
Mm.
But um, I know, instead of like, he was supposed to start the next day, and then you start somebody who we drafted 2 years ago in the fifth round, and like you're voting your confidence on that, which Bryce Elder did great, but uh, just seems strange to me, and maybe seems like he's kind of out of the rotation right now, and is only really going to replace somebody if somebody fucks up again.
Mm.
Um, and then past that, Mueller had a bad spring. Maybe they're really just trying to recondition him right now in AAA and get him
Mm.
ready as soon as possible to kind of fight for a spot again. And then below that, Elder, just completely new to the MLB and very young. Had a great game, but I mean, when you're uh, a good young pitcher that has stuff debuting for the MLB, like you honestly kind of have an advantage over the other team, at least for the first 1 or 2 rounds through the lineup, because I just haven't seen you before. Um, but yeah, I haven't fully lost faith in Yanoa. I have lost faith in him for at least the next month. I don't think he's going to be very productive if he is in the MLB.
Mm.
Um, I would like to see him go to AAA. We don't really. I mean, we need him. We need what he
But
could have done, but he is not giving it near any of that, and there are people that are
mm.
doing better than he is. So I just don't see a use for him right now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just from here, just kind of looking game by game. The fact that we got torn up by a guy that got cut by the Orioles too
Mm. Yeah.
in
Game one,
Rogers,
yeah, Rogers, he kind of went. He went like 5 innings, like no runs, right? One
5.1,
run,
one
one run.
run,
Yeah.
3 Ks, 2 walks. And he just wasn't all that good, and we
Mm.
weren't doing too much. And Dansby struck out 2 more times. For those of you who do not know, Dansby is currently leading all of the MLB in strikeouts at 13 strikeouts in 25 ABs, and which is 2 strikeouts higher than anybody else in the league. Um, so his leash is growing shorter and shorter by the day. Would I rather have Arcia starting every day? Hell no, I
No,
wouldn't. But do we have
no.
options? No, we don't.
That's
Um,
that's also something to keep an eye on. High key. Like I know we're talking about the pitching inefficiencies, but if Dansby like really sucks this year, we don't have much of another option other than Orlando Arcia.
yeah, which would kind of make way if Dansby. I mean, the trade deadline is 4 months away.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's so much time. There's plenty of time.
um, which is kind of bad looking at how
Mm,
terrible he is right now. Like he's just becoming a burden. It's just an absolute hole in the lineup.
mm,
And with how, I mean, Rosario has only struck out 4 times, but he has
yeah.
only hit the ball once and has an average of 50, um,
Ugh,
which isn't good. I
not
feel like
great.
I think most people kind of realized he wasn't going to be the hot player that he was in the playoffs,
Yeah.
but I wasn't expecting it to be this terrible.
Yeah, I'm hoping once he shifts to left field when Acuna comes back, it like levels out. But I think there is also an element of like all eyes on him at the moment. You know.
I don't know. Um,
Mm,
but I mean, Duvall's okay.
yeah, he's fine.
Uh, Pena doesn't have much with the bat, but it doesn't really matter too much. Um, but yeah, that was just a really tough game to watch,
Mm,
especially after the first inning. This is our second game where we like closed them out in the first inning, and then got 1 or 2 runs in the first, and then just kind of looked like we were cruising right off the bat, and then did nothing.
mm,
Um, this game we had 26 batters in a row without a hit
mm.
from the first to the ninth inning.
It's so bad.
Um, so that was miserable.
Mm,
Then our bullpen work was Strider and Davidson. Strider looked good, Davidson did not. It was poopy.
yeah.
Second game was pretty magical to watch. Pretty enjoyable. Even the last couple innings were entertaining with D. Strange Gordon pitching and Darno going down. It was
That
funny.
was great. That's gonna be like a season highlight. I'm looking forward to that. Also,
um,
also good to know that Travis has a good sense of humor. He kind of seemed like a dad for a while, but
I mean, he's always been like that.
yeah.
I mean, he's
No, it's just nice to see it. It
yeah.
is funny. Yeah.
I think he's the. Usually, if you're the catcher, you have to be the funniest on the team. Usually because you're the fattest. But
Yeah, so true.
um, but yeah, no, he's always been like that. I love Travis.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
he's great.
and she's also been hitting. He's been low key one of the better hitters on our team. He's got a 353, 4 RBIs, 1 home run. He's only struck out 4 times. OBP 389, OPS 918. Um, but I mean, everybody did pretty well. Matt Olson, well, he got 3 walks. So, which also Matt Olson is tied for the lead in the league for walks at 8, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no,
Um,
he's been lights out.
but Ozzy started doing better. I Ozzy was a little too proud of the home run that he hit off of Gordon.
Off of D Strange Gordon. Yeah,
Like I
man.
thought he would smile a little bit, but he didn't smile at all, and he just looked incredibly too serious about it. And I was just like, just you don't take too much pride in this. Um,
I've got to say, with like I know just sort of around the league right now. Uh, I know there's some stuff with like the Giants and Padres game where I think the Giants like bunted in like the seventh
oh
inning. And
yeah,
it could bring up the whole topic of the unwritten rules. I personally think that you should be able to like do whatever. Like if you should treat D Gordon as like a regular pitcher. I'm sorry. Like the point of the game is to score as many runs as possible. And if you're gonna hit a home run, like take it all in. I don't know. That's my 2 cents though.
I agree with that. Like I don't. Um, I'm glad that baseball's kind of shifted the way it has. Like if he had
Mhm.
done that even 5 years ago, he would have been reprimanded for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have no sympathy for the Nationals in the slightest. But it's
That's
just
true.
like when you do that, like, I mean, he didn't like, scream his way around the bases or anything. It wasn't like he was
Yeah.
super like jacked up about it, but he
Yeah.
did like go in the dugout and was like bumping people's chests and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it gets him going a little bit. Maybe because he's just been struggling some, but I don't know. When I would do that, I just at least don't say anything about it when you go around, or just kind of crack a smile.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, we only had two guys in the bullpen work that game because Bryce performed so well,
Mm.
which was just Darren for one out, which he's been a pleasant surprise. He's only
Yeah.
worked 1.1 innings, but
Yeah.
and then another kind of pleasant surprise, honestly, was this random ass dude that we pulled out of the Mexican League.
Jackson Stevens.
Yeah,
We pulled him up that day too. Like
really,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he made his Braves debut that day, and
yeah,
he went what, like 3 innings, 1 run, I think. Yeah, 3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. Very, very impressive.
yeah. I mean, at that point, they have like no spirit and just
Yeah,
not
like why
much.
live?
But still, I mean, I think he's gonna be much? No, but he could definitely be an innings eater type guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And something I saw with him, this may not matter at all because he might not pitch for us ever again, or only pitch in terrible situations or whatever. But um, like the first 2 or 3 pitches he had were just right where he wanted them to be and really gross. But
Yeah.
he couldn't. A lot of the time, he just couldn't uh, finish it out, which is how he ended up at 61 pitches over 3 innings. He did get
Mhm.
4 Ks, and only gave up 3 hits and only 1 walk. But he just seemed to get the pitch count in each at bat pretty high.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, 61 pitches through 3 innings is not great, but if you're getting results, it's kind of nice.
um, and then looking on the other side of things, Patrick Corbin. I mean, there were points last year too where he had like bad stretches and then really resurged, but I know
Hmm.
he kind of looks like it's almost the end of his line.
Yeah, I sort of feel bad almost. Like, obviously, I don't feel bad because the Nationals and
Mhm.
whatever, but yeah, that's one of those guys. You're like, he was a big name at one point, and he's just fallen off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah,
2019 was one of his biggest years, and since then I don't know. He went 2.2, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, and 3 Ks.
yeah, it's pretty
There was
bad.
just we were all over him. Like
Yeah,
it just whenever he would put it in the zone, it felt like we were getting a hit.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, looking at the third game, Freed did
Hmm.
better. He gave up 7 hits, which isn't great, but only 2 earned runs. Colin McHugh is getting a lot better,
Hmm.
and I mean
Yeah.
all of his ERA is basically from that first game where he gave a 3-run home run.
Hmm.
Um, Bullpen's looking really solid. Minter, Matzik, Jansen, um, all performed
Real
pretty
good.
well.
Yeah, Mentor, three strikeouts on 3 batters. Very, very good.
Basically,
Mhm.
our problems rest not in the bullpen at all. Our bullpen is honestly the most solid part of our team right now.
Yeah.
It rests in our starting pitchers, specifically our young starting pitchers, and then about half of our lineup.
Hmm.
Um, and that really showed in this game. Um, Even if somebody's getting a hit, more than likely the person after you is not going to get one.
Hmm.
Um, and this was the only game in Matt Olson's career as a Brave that he has not gotten on base twice. Um, Alex Dickerson continues to not have a hit. He did get a walk.
So, yeah.
Um,
He is making like good contact. I think I read somewhere that like good chunk of his hits and his contact have actually come off the bat like 100 plus miles per hour.
hmm
So
There's 4 out of his
yeah.
7 batted balls have come out of the
Mhm.
bat over 100,
Mhm.
and then he struck out 3 times.
Mhm.
Uh, but even so, he still has a short leash. I don't really
Yeah.
know what is gonna happen once Acuna's back. I feel like that would probably be my first guess as the player to come off the team.
Yeah.
But we'll just see what happens. I might be Dansby at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, for real.
Uh,
Half jokingly.
but yeah, I mean, I don't even know how we talked about this series for 50 minutes. Maybe it's because I talked about Delta 8 gummies for a little bit, and then we talked about anything but this series. But yeah,
Yeah. I think if anything, this series kind of just like obviously wasn't fun to watch, but it really did expose kind of our inefficiencies. You know, if you're these are games we should not be losing straight up.
no, this is a bad team. This is a bad
Yeah,
team that we
yeah.
play.
These are this is this losing these series are the ones that you circle the date on if you lose this conference by or the division by a few
hmm
games. Especially, I'm sorry to mention it, but especially with how the Mets are playing right now, a little spooked. But obviously, there's just an incredible vast amount of games left to play, and I think we're this upcoming series, West Coast, play the Padres tonight through the weekend, and then Dodgers Monday through Wednesday. I think we're really gonna see what the team's made of.
Yeah,
So
and it
mm.
might be nothing.
It could be nothing. Yeah, could
Oh,
be.
I just want Acuna to show up as soon as
Hmm.
possible.
Hmm.
Just his
Hmm.
presence overall, I feel like we just have no energy on our
I
team.
agree. I agree. And
Um,
there's just too much transition. You lose some of the World Series guys. You add Matt Olson. Dansby's a ghost. Alex Dickerson's like, what are you doing, man? I think that's gonna be the switch, and it cannot come soon enough.
yeah, I mean like even in our the biggest win of this series, like most of our energy was coming from Heredia and Arcia,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
I
they're
I
lunatics. I love them. Yeah.
I love mainly Heredia, but their domain is the dugout. Like
Yeah.
that's their place of energy on
Oh,
the field.
they're bench warriors. Yeah,
eh,
they're great there.
If
But
they're like the people that are performing the best on the field for our team, like
yeah.
that should be a bad sign.
Yes.
Um,
It's honestly kind of funny how like visceral of a reaction I got when I saw Heredia starting one of the games versus like how like I'm like, oh shit, he actually plays. I didn't realize that. I thought he was just there to like sub in for center field at in the ninth inning and then wave the swords around. But
yeah.
he
He
just
got
he has
that.
his flashes. Yeah, he has his flashes.
He got one of the funniest runs of probably this month at
Oh,
least.
that's right. We forgot to talk about that.
Ran
I
into
love
the
pickles.
catcher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love pickles.
I know you love
He's
pickles, Sam.
I'm a big pickle guy.
Uh,
I mean that was an absolute shit show of a play, but it was so funny. It's like only the Nats could screw that up so
mm,
hard.
and the
I mean,
Mets.
their catcher was just standing in the middle of the base path, and
Yeah.
Heredia like totally sold it too. Like he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
Good for him.
But yeah. Padres have been playing fairly well.
Hmm.
They did lose one to the Diamondbacks, but uh, who have we got pitching in this series? So it's gonna be Morton versus Joe Musgrove,
Hmm.
which should be a pretty good battle. Um,
Yeah.
and I can get these other games. Um, so it'll be Kyle Wright against. They have not named who the next person is gonna be for San Diego. Um, Saturday, it's Ian Anderson versus Martinez? Nick Martinez? Do you know who that is?
Never heard of them. No.
Interesting. Okay. And Sunday, our game on ESPN right now is slated to be Darvish versus Yanoa.
Oh no. Oh no. That's
Yeah.
bad. That's
Kinda,
bad.
kinda hope that changes, personally.
We'll say Darvish is not looking great recently. Could see something special. Also, I'm gonna miss this entire series because I'll be in Indio. I'll be in the desert, so I won't be able to follow too
Is that
well.
where
Unfortunately.
Coachella is?
Yeah,
It's in a desert?
literally it's at a polo club in the desert, like in it's so weird, so random. But yeah, I will like literally not have cell service, so which will stop me from posting hundreds of stories of all the concerts I'm seeing on my Instagram and my
Damn,
Snapchat.
that's so rough.
No one's gonna be able to see what I see.
No one's gonna be able to see how cool you are for going to Coachella. Then why are
Exactly. I'm
you
gonna
even
take.
going?
Yeah,
What's the
that's a
purpose
good
of
point. You know,
going?
that's a great like what if I'll try my best not to post everything on Instagram.
Well, then you're doing us a
Oh
disservice. You have
yeah.
to post everything.
Also the set times for the festival came out during this episode, and there's some wicked conflict, so that'll be fun. Yeah, gonna have to decide if I want to see Brockhampton or Flume. That's gonna be a tough decision, but I don't know. I think this like obviously aside, but I think this Padres series is gonna be pretty big for us. Hopefully we win it. I mean, if we can pull, I think we're doing 4 games. If we can do 3-1, that'll be very clutch. So, mm,
Something I just saw while I was looking at our schedule. I didn't even realize this. We've only had one save opportunity
hmm,
in 7 games, which we got, and we have been saved against 4 times.
not good.
So we're either blowing people out or we are losing
Losing
by,
down to the wire.
yeah,
Yeah,
losing by very little.
yeah.
Inconsistent. All right. Well,
Well,
I
that's yeah.
gotta take a shit and then take an hour
Nice.
nap before I do leg day, and then go drink some margaritas at a Mexican restaurant, and then probably poop again, and then come back here, and then maybe drink a little bit more before I go to Dollar Beers night. So.
Oh, right on. I love
Mhm.
Athens, Georgia. That's great
One
there.
dollar beers, including
How
tax.
is that allowed? Like, that's crazy. Dude, if there was $1 beers in LA, like I think the place would just like combust or explode or something. Like there's I mean drink prices in Los Angeles that's a topic for another day, but
Mm.
you have fun. That sounds like a really fun time,
Mhm.
fun day ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I usually spend like $5 or $7 each night, and I don't have to spend any more money. It's
That's
crazy.
great. I bring a flask whenever I go out. I don't buy drinks. I've actually made I'm like college like I'm such a good college student. I'll go to these like really nice like speakeasy good like club vibes which I'm such a douchebag
And
saying
then
that
just
out loud. I hate myself. Then I'm just pounding like $10 like plastic handle vodka. No, I've actually perfected it. I have a really good thing I do. I'll go up to the bar and order like a seltzer water with lime or something.
Oh, and then
And
you
then
just
this
pour it.
and then in the middle of the dance floor, I'll have my friend shield me while I'm doing it. It's pretty I'm a genius. Like honest to God, like this semester I've probably saved like $200-300 on drinks just from doing that. So yeah.
Mm,
Also doing the same
ingenuity.
thing at Coachella. If Unless the feds are listening right
Yeah,
now,
and then you're not
I got
doing it.
these that I'm not getting these like floppy flasks. They're like
Oh,
bendable,
is it like the
and I'm not.
pouch thing?
Yeah, and I'm not putting them in my pants and duct
Yeah.
taping them to the inside of my legs. That's not gonna
Yeah.
happen. That's not gonna happen.
Just want to assure you that I have never thought of this.
I haven't even, I'm not even looking at the floppy flasks right now. Like I don't even see
I have
them.
not dissected how I'm putting it on my body and how I'm concealing it and which underwear I'm wearing with it.
Oh, I'm like a drug mule. Um, yeah. All right. Good series ahead. Good
Hmm.
week. Exciting
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, we'll see. Yep. All right.
All
See ya.
right.